Your soulmate is about to confess who they really are. I've been living a lie. My beloved child, something has shifted in the silence around your soulmate, and the truth they have been holding back is finally becoming too heavy to carry. For a long time, you may have felt there was something about them you could never fully understand. A strange distance. Words they almost said, then swallowed. Moments when they seemed ready to reveal everything, only to suddenly change the subject. But what you could not see was the private battle happening inside them. Your soulmate has been protecting a truth about who they really are, and now they are reaching the point where pretending feels harder than confessing. Don't skip, because the words forming in their heart are not ordinary words. They have imagined sitting across from you, looking directly into your eyes, and finally saying, "I need you to know the real me. I've been living a lie." But here is where everything becomes surprising. The lie may not be about their feelings for you. Their feelings could be the one thing they never had to pretend about. The hidden truth is connected to the person they have allowed everyone else to believe they are. Expectations shaped them. Other people's opinions influenced their choices. They learned how to smile while keeping their deepest thoughts locked away. And somewhere along the way, they became afraid that if you discovered the complete truth, you might see them differently. Yet something recently changed. They realized that losing the chance to be completely real with you would hurt more than finally being seen. Stay till the end, because this confession has another layer, and that layer could explain why their behavior around you has seemed so confusing. There is one detail your soulmate keeps returning to, and it involves a moment between you that you may have considered completely ordinary. You said something, did something, or simply looked at them in a way that made them feel understood without having to explain themselves. That moment stayed with them. They replayed it privately because, for a few seconds, they felt as though you could see beyond the version of themselves they showed everyone else. That frightened them at first. Then it became the very reason they could no longer ignore you. Something huge is waiting for you, because their confession is not simply, "I kept something from you." It is closer to, "The person everyone thinks I am is not the person I want to keep being." Imagine carrying a version of yourself created from other people's expectations while secretly wishing one particular person could know what was underneath it all. That is the emotional crossroads your soulmate has reached. They are tired of carefully choosing every sentence around you. Tired of wondering whether telling you everything would change the connection. Tired of allowing unanswered questions to stand between you. And now, when they imagine their future, they keep seeing one impossible choice: continue protecting the image they built, or finally tell you the truth and accept whatever comes next. Don't skip. The surprising part is that they have already begun choosing. Quietly. Piece by piece. Something in their recent behavior has been different because they are preparing themselves for a conversation they once believed they would never have. They may have rehearsed the opening line again and again, but every version eventually leads to the same admission: "You deserve to know who I really am." And now comes the part they are most afraid to say aloud, not because the truth itself changes everything, but because your reaction matters to them more than anyone else's. They can handle other people misunderstanding them. They have done that before. What they cannot easily handle is the possibility of you misunderstanding why they stayed silent. They want you to know that the silence was never proof that you meant too little. In their heart, it may have been the opposite. You mattered so much that telling you became harder. Every time they came close, they imagined 100 different reactions. But recently, one realization became stronger than every fear: if they want something genuine with you, they cannot build it while hiding behind an identity that no longer feels true to them. Stay till the end, because there is still one missing piece. Your soulmate does not only want to reveal who they really are. They want to explain why they chose you as the person who should hear it first. And that reason connects back to something about you they noticed long before you realized they were paying attention. Something about your presence made them believe they could finally stop performing, stop pretending, and simply be understood. Something huge is waiting for you, because once that reason is revealed, the sentence, "I've been living a lie," will suddenly mean something completely different. The confession is getting closer. The mask is beginning to fall. And the biggest truth is not what they have been hiding from the world, it is what they have secretly been hoping to become when they are finally standing beside you. There is one sentence your soulmate has rehearsed more times than you could ever imagine, but every time they reach the final words, they stop. Not because they have changed their mind, but because those final words reveal exactly why you became so important to them. Don't skip, because this is where the story moves beyond everything they have shown on the surface. For so long, they believed they could keep two versions of themselves separate: the person everyone expected them to be and the person they secretly knew themselves to be. They became skilled at giving people the answers they expected, smiling when necessary, and pretending certain choices were completely their own. But then you entered their emotional world, and suddenly that carefully controlled version of their life stopped feeling comfortable. You noticed details others overlooked. You remembered little things they thought nobody would remember. And without realizing it, you made them question something enormous: what if I don't have to pretend forever? Stay till the end, because they are not preparing to confess only what they hid. They are preparing to tell you when the hiding began, and why meeting you made continuing it almost impossible. Something huge is waiting for you. There was a specific moment when they looked at you and realized that you were becoming the one person whose opinion could actually change the direction of their life. That realization made them pull back at first. It explained some of the mixed signals, some of the unexplained silence, and some of those moments when they seemed emotionally close and then suddenly distant. They were not necessarily running away from you. They were struggling with the possibility that being close to you meant eventually becoming completely real. But the biggest surprise is still hidden underneath that confession. Your soulmate has been carrying one private question: if they knew everything about me, would they still look at me the same way? That question followed them into quiet moments and interrupted the future they secretly imagined with you. Yet something inside them has changed. They no longer want you connected to a carefully edited version of who they are. They want you to know the person beneath every expectation, every carefully chosen answer, and every unfinished explanation. And now they have reached a once-in-a-lifetime decision: they would rather risk being fully known than continue being accepted for someone they are not. Don't skip, because the next part is what makes this confession so deeply connected to you. Your soulmate believes you saw something real in them before they were brave enough to admit it themselves. Perhaps it was the way you listened. Perhaps it was the way you never demanded perfection. Perhaps it was simply the feeling they experienced around you, the feeling that they did not have to prove anything. Whatever it was, they remember it. And now that memory has become the reason they keep returning to the same thought, I have to tell them. They want to explain why certain decisions never matched their heart, why certain parts of their story seemed incomplete, and why they sometimes appeared to be holding back when the connection between you felt strongest. Stay till the end. The truth is moving closer, and when they finally speak, one sentence could rearrange everything you thought you understood about them. Because here is what they have finally realized: the confession is not simply about revealing a secret. It is about choosing what happens after the secret is revealed. Your soulmate is beginning to imagine a life where they no longer have to divide themselves between what others expect and what their heart actually wants. And whenever they imagine that life, somehow you appear inside it. Something huge is waiting for you, because there is another reason they have waited this long, and it has nothing to do with uncertainty about you. They were waiting until they could answer one question for themselves: am I ready to live as the person I truly want to be? Their answer is becoming clearer. They know that once they tell you, they cannot simply return to pretending nothing happened. The conversation will mark a turning point. Before it, there was silence. After it, there will be truth. And somewhere between those two moments stands you, the person they secretly hope will understand why it took them so long. Don't skip, because what comes next is even more surprising. There is one part of their hidden story they have never explained to anyone in the way they want to explain it to you. It connects their past choices, their strange hesitation, and the real reason your presence affected them so deeply. They thought they were protecting the life they had built, now they are beginning to understand that they may actually have been protecting themselves from the one truth they could no longer ignore. Around you, they finally discovered what it feels like to want to be completely real. What your soulmate is about to reveal begins with a choice they made long before they understood how much it would eventually cost them emotionally. At the time, that choice seemed easier. They followed expectations, accepted a version of life that looked right from the outside, and convinced themselves that eventually their heart would become comfortable with it. But it never truly did. And then you appeared. Don't skip, because this is where the pieces that never seemed to fit begin connecting. Your soulmate started noticing that whenever they were around you, the person they had worked so hard to become suddenly felt unfamiliar. Conversations with you awakened thoughts they had buried. Quiet moments reminded them of dreams they had stopped admitting they wanted. Even your smallest words could stay in their mind much longer than you realized. That is why they sometimes seemed unusually thoughtful after speaking with you. They were comparing two lives, the life they had been presenting to everyone and the life that suddenly felt possible when they imagined being completely honest. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. There is one realization they have never spoken aloud: meeting you did not create their hidden truth. You simply made it impossible for them to keep ignoring it. And that distinction changes everything. They do not want you believing that you are responsible for their confusion or their past choices. Instead, they want you to understand that your presence became a mirror. Through you, they started seeing themselves without all the expectations surrounding them. And once they saw that person clearly, pretending became harder than ever before. Then something happened inside them that even they did not expect. They began imagining the actual confession. Not vaguely. Not someday. They imagined the room, the silence before speaking, your expression, and the exact moment they would finally say, "There is something about me you never knew." But there is a second sentence they keep imagining immediately afterward, and this is the sentence that carries the real emotional weight: please understand why I couldn't tell you sooner. Don't skip. Your soulmate is not looking for an excuse. They want you to understand the history behind their silence. There were moments when telling the truth could have changed relationships, expectations, plans, and the way certain people viewed them. So they became used to keeping pieces of themselves private. Eventually, hiding became automatic. But you changed the equation because suddenly there was someone they did not want to hide from. Something huge is waiting for you, because they have finally recognized something extraordinary. The greatest risk is no longer telling you the truth. The greatest risk is waiting so long that the opportunity to tell you disappears. That thought has become impossible for them to ignore. Stay till the end, because this is why their next move could seem surprisingly sudden. What looks sudden from the outside has been building privately for a very long time. Every unfinished sentence, every moment of hesitation, every time they almost reached out and stopped, it has all been leading toward one conversation. And your soulmate knows that once those first honest words leave their mouth, the wall between who they appear to be and who they truly are may finally come down. But there is one final layer they have been protecting more carefully than everything else, because it explains why you became connected to this confession in the first place. Your soulmate remembers the exact emotional moment when they realized you were different. You were not asking them to impress you. You were not demanding a perfect version of them. Somehow, simply being around you made them feel that being understood might be more valuable than being admired. That feeling stayed with them. Don't skip, because what happened afterward surprised even them. They started imagining telling you things they had never planned to tell anyone. Not because they suddenly became fearless, but because they began trusting the possibility that you might listen before judging. And now their heart keeps returning to one thought: if there is one person who deserves the real story, it is them. Something huge is waiting for you. The words, "I've been living a lie," are only the doorway. Behind those words is the explanation of what they truly want, why they kept choosing differently, and what they are finally prepared to change. Stay till the end, because the next truth is bigger than their past. Your soulmate is no longer only asking themselves whether they should confess. They are asking what they will do after they confess. And for the first time, their answer includes a future where they stop living according to everyone else's expectations and start making choices that actually match their heart. The most surprising part? When they picture taking that first completely honest step forward, you are the person they hope will still be standing there. The next truth changes the meaning of everything your soulmate has kept hidden, because they have finally understood that their greatest secret was never simply about the past, it was about the future they were afraid to choose. Don't skip, because this is where their confession becomes more powerful. For so long, they thought staying silent would keep everything simple. They could continue being the person everyone recognized, continue following the path already placed in front of them, and avoid explaining the feelings they could barely explain to themselves. But every time they imagined doing that forever, one thought interrupted them: you. Not because you demanded anything from them, but because knowing you showed them what genuine connection could feel like. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate has started recognizing how many decisions were made from expectation instead of authenticity. They remember moments when their heart wanted one thing while their words said another. They remember almost telling you the truth and then convincing themselves there would be a better time. But now they understand something they could not understand before. Waiting for the perfect moment can become another way of hiding. And they do not want to hide anymore. They have reached the point where one completely honest conversation feels more valuable than maintaining an image that never truly represented their heart. There is even a sentence they secretly want to tell you after admitting, "I've been living a lie." It is simple, but it changes everything. With you, I finally wanted to tell the truth. And when they imagine saying those words, they are not thinking about how everyone else might react. For once, they are thinking about what happens between you and them when nothing artificial remains. Something else has changed too. Your soulmate is beginning to forgive themselves for taking so long to understand what they actually wanted. That matters because until recently, part of their silence came from believing they had already waited too long. They wondered whether explaining everything now would only create more questions. But then they realized the unanswered questions already existed. Don't skip. The only difference is that now they are ready to answer them. They want to explain why they pulled away when closeness seemed possible. Why certain conversations ended just before becoming deeply personal. Why their actions sometimes appeared to contradict what you could feel underneath them. It was not because the connection meant nothing. The connection was becoming powerful enough to challenge the entire identity they had built around themselves. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate has secretly made another decision. When they finally speak, they do not want to give you half of the story. They want to tell you enough that the confusing moments finally make sense. Stay till the end, because there is one memory they keep returning to whenever they lose courage. It was a moment when you treated them with unexpected understanding. Maybe you barely noticed it. To them, it became proof that honesty with you might actually be possible. Since then, that memory has quietly followed them every time they considered confessing. They began realizing that what they wanted from you was never admiration for the person they pretended to be. They wanted something much rarer, acceptance of the person underneath it. And that realization is pushing them toward a conversation they once thought they would avoid forever. Now the confession is reaching its deepest point, because your soulmate knows there is one question you may eventually ask: why me? Why did you choose me to hear this? Their answer has been forming quietly, and it may be the most surprising revelation yet. Don't skip, because it connects everything. They chose you because somehow, before knowing the entire story, you made them remember who they were beneath everyone else's expectations. Around you, they did not only feel noticed, they felt recognized. That difference became impossible to forget. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because their confession will not finish with, "I've been living a lie." Those words are only the beginning. What they truly want to say afterward is that they are ready to stop allowing that lie to decide their next chapter. They cannot rewrite every choice behind them, but they can decide which version of themselves walks forward. And suddenly, the future they once considered impossible does not feel impossible anymore. They are imagining honesty instead of performance, clarity instead of unfinished sentences, and a connection where they no longer have to constantly wonder what would happen if you knew everything. The biggest revelation is becoming clear: your soulmate was not only hiding who they were from you. In some ways, they had been hiding that person from themselves. You became the unexpected reason they finally started looking. And now that they have seen the truth clearly, returning to the old version of their life no longer feels the same. Something inside them has already changed, and the next thing they want to reveal is the one decision that proves this confession is no longer just something they are imagining. A decision has already been made in your soulmate's heart, and this is the moment where everything they have been hiding begins turning into something real. Don't skip, because until now, they could always tell themselves they needed more time. More time to understand themselves. More time to find the right words. More time to decide whether revealing everything was worth changing the life everyone thought they knew. But that excuse no longer works. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate has finally admitted one private truth to themselves. If they continue living as the person everyone expects, they may eventually lose the chance to become the person they actually want to be. And strangely, whenever they imagine that loss, they think about you. They remember the conversations that ended too soon, the moments when they almost became completely honest, and the times they wanted to tell you, "There is so much about me you still don't know." Stay till the end, because the shocking part is not simply that they are ready to confess. It is that they have begun preparing for what comes afterward. They know they cannot say, "I've been living a lie," and then continue exactly as before. Those words require a choice. And their choice is becoming clearer. They want their next chapter to be built on truth, even if that means leaving behind expectations they once believed they had to follow. For the first time, they are not asking, "What will everyone think?" They are asking, "What kind of life will finally feel like mine?" And when that question enters their mind, your presence becomes impossible to ignore. But there is another revelation underneath this decision, and it explains why they have been so emotionally restless. Your soulmate has realized that the version of themselves they showed you was never completely false. The laughter was real. The connection was real. The moments when they seemed genuinely peaceful around you were real. What was hidden was everything they were afraid those feelings might reveal. Don't skip. They began noticing that around you, their carefully controlled identity became harder to maintain because their natural reactions kept appearing. They cared when you became distant. They remembered things you said long after the conversation ended. They wondered what you were thinking when silence appeared between you. And each of those little reactions whispered the same message: this matters more than you are admitting. Something huge is waiting for you, because eventually they stopped trying to silence that message. Instead, they started listening. That was the turning point. Your soulmate finally understood that confessing who they really are is not about becoming someone new for you. It is about stopping the performance that kept the real person hidden. Stay till the end, because they have even imagined what they want to say when you ask why they waited. Their answer will not be complicated. They were afraid that truth might change everything. But now they understand that silence was already changing everything. Every day they waited created more distance between the connection they wanted and the connection they were allowing themselves to have. And that distance has finally become something they no longer want to accept. Now there is one final detail they are holding close, because this is the detail that transforms the confession into a completely different kind of revelation. Don't skip, because your soulmate is not planning to come forward merely to explain themselves and disappear again. They want to know whether there is still room for something honest to begin after everything is finally understood. They have imagined looking at you after revealing the truth and waiting through those few silent seconds that could feel longer than years. But underneath all that uncertainty is something unexpectedly strong: relief. Relief that you would finally know. Relief that they would no longer have to carefully edit themselves around the person whose understanding matters most. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. There is one sentence beyond "I've been living a lie" that they have been afraid even to rehearse, because this sentence reveals what they secretly hope comes next. It is not about asking you to